Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. Let's talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, the season 2 finale. It was called First Contact. And we find our crew at Space Dock, the one from Star Trek 3. They're assisting another crew on an Obana-class ship called the Archimedes with a refit. Now, this ship looked to me like an Excelsior class, and apparently the Obana class is a combination of an Excelsior class and another class, which I can't remember, but it looks a lot like, I guess, Sovereign class? Yeah, but it looks a lot like an Excelsior class ship, which is very cool. What I want to know is why they insist on some officers having different uniforms. I guess depending on the ship, you have a certain uniform, but we've only ever seen 2 that I recall. The Cerritos uniforms and every other ship. Now, did they show captains from other California class ships that have the same uniforms as Cerritos? I can't remember, but I think they did. Still, why? Why are they doing that? That was never a thing in Star Trek. To the extent that it seemed like it was a costuming error. So, and you know, uniforms get phased in at different times. Different parts of the fleet are going to get the newer uniforms at a different time. It's staggered, but like, it's been 2 seasons. Why are they doing this? It's just annoying to me. Anyway, we learned that the captain is going to get a promotion and a new ship, and that she won't be able to bring her senior staff with her. And Mariner is dismayed at this, if for no other reason because it means a new captain. What I want to know is, what is she getting promoted to? Because after captain is admiral, and admirals generally don't command starships. So Kirk did for a bit, but it wasn't his normal duty. So I don't know what's going on with that. We see that the ship is getting ready to celebrate Captain Freeman Day, which is cool because it's a flashback to Captain Picard Day, and the one sign that they keep showing over and over that they're going to hang up at the celebration is just like that, the Happy Captain Picard Day. So it was very funny. And of course, Boimler is all over it. We see that Rutherford's having trouble with his implant. This thing keeps coming up and blocking his view. It's like a warning or something about memory or whatever. We see that Tendi thinks that she's in trouble with the doctor and that she's being transferred off by the doctor. So she goes on a tour of her favorite spots on the ship to say goodbye to the ship. She takes Rutherford on this tour with her. It actually was Rutherford's idea. The senior staff finds out about the transfer, and they're pissed that the captain didn't mention it to them. The 2 ships go off to their mission, and a sun flare within that system of the planet that they go to wipes out a planetoid nearby, and the debris and the shockwave hit the Archimedes and send it flying, and also knock out all of its power, leaving it unable to avoid crashing into the planet, which it's going to do in a matter of hours because it's it's going down. It's caught in a gravity well. Captain Freeman decides to take the captain's yacht to go through the debris field and help the Archimedes, but Mariner stops her, and while they're arguing, she says, "I'm a Kirk type," and her mother disagrees and says she's something different, but it was funny to hear her say that. But Rutherford comes upon this discussion and suggests removing the magnetized outer hull of the ship so that it can go through the debris field safely, because apparently, even if they shut down all their power to try to keep the debris from being attracted to them, they would still have a magnetized hull that would do that. So he recommends removing the magnetized hull. So the crew heads out to do that in mag boots, and it was just crazy. And of course, the ship looked weird without the hull plating. It turns out that Rutherford has to delete duplicate memory files in order to fix the error in his head, which is keeping him from being able to see. And he finds it difficult to do this because he previously had lost all his memories of Tendi and then created triplicates of each memory in the implant so that he would never lose them completely again. But he decides he has to, in fact, delete the redundant ones, the redundant memory files, so that he can actually see. And he does this. But during his doing this, we see a suspicious memory file where it would seem that some people who didn't appear to be Vulcans were really the ones who gave him the adapter, or the implant, I should say. So we're going to see what that's about, probably. The next thing we see is cetacean ops. Now, I didn't think this was a big deal, but in the fandom, apparently it's a big deal because cetacean ops was listed as a room on the ship at somewhere along the line on a map of the ship, a diagram of the ship. And so people have been like, we want to see it, we want to see it, we want to see it. And they finally showed it to us, and it's populated by a couple of beluga whales in Starfleet uniforms who apparently performed some kind of Starfleet duty on the ship, and they were saying funny things. They like Rutherford a lot. They wanted him to get in the tank and take off his uniform. So it was kind of funny. But it turns out that they needed to go there because they need to swim down and release the remaining hull plate manually because it gets stuck in place. So Boimler does in fact swim down to do this. He gets helped by the beluga whales who swim down with him, but he passes out underwater when his suit gets cut. Meanwhile, Ransom is manually navigating the ship through the debris field by looking through an open section of the bridge, like it's just gone. He's not using a view screener. This section was removed. And Mariner ends up getting knocked off the ship right into the debris field, but she's grabbed by the Andorian ensign that she didn't like. But I guess now they're going to be friends, so that was cool. The Cerritos ends up catching up with the Archimedes and tractors it to safety. Captain Freeman gets to be the one to make the successful first contract, which was the mission, in the absence of the captain of the Archimedes, who is recovering. And by the way, the captain is someone who was an ensign in the first season of Next Generation and has been promoted and was played by the same actress. I forget which character it is. I'll try to put up the name or whatever. It's probably over there. So that was cool. It turns out, too, that the Doctor did have something in mind for Tendi, but it isn't what Tendi thought it was. She wants Tendi to move into a job that's better suited to her because she just mastered everything that was thrown at her in sickbay and in the medical discipline so easily that it's sort of she's sort of overqualified. And the Doctor says, you know, this isn't where you'll be best used. You need to go into the general sciences so that you can work, you know, like on the bridge or whatever, and really contribute in that way. This is beneath your abilities, working in medical. And so she says, oh, that would be great. Then I would be like Jadzia Dax. And the Doctor goes, what? Who the hell is that? You'd be like Spock. So it's very funny that the Doctor doesn't know who Jadzia is, but Tendi kind of worships her. Anyway, Captain decides to turn down the promotion and the transfer. So she goes to her ready room to tell the folks from Starfleet who've come over to, I guess, make it official that she's not going to go through with it. And they say, yeah, we know, because we're arresting you on charges of destroying Pakled planet with a bomb, which of course she didn't do, but they think she did. There's some doctored evidence that suggests that she did. And that's where the episode and the season ended. So it ended on a cliffhanger, and yikes. I thought this was a really good episode. It was probably the most Star Trek episode they've done in terms of it didn't veer off into any weird stuff. Like, you know, the previous week, I think it was, they did a weird, you know, we're going to do simulations and you're seeing the mirror universe and you're seeing, you know, the Borg universe and different things. And it was just a lot of just wacky stuff thrown at you. This was a straightforward, there's a mission and the mission gets compromised and we're going to fix it episode. And that is the hallmark of Star Trek. So I thought it was great that they had an episode like that. And I thought the characters performed pretty much exactly the way they would. I mean, some of it's exaggerated. Crew members did sort of argue with the captain and with their, you know, their fellow officers about how to proceed in different situations, but it never got to, like, you know, name calling and stuff. So they do that on the show. So it's a little bit, you know, exaggerated, but, you know, I can take that. I can take if it's a little bit like, okay, that wouldn't really happen, but it's, you know, I can take a little bit of that as long as the rest of it is faithful. And they've really been getting better at that. And this episode was just fabulous. I thought it was a fabulous episode. And I can't wait to see what they do with this whole Captain blew up the Pakled planet thing, because she didn't do it and they're going to have to prove that. And it's going to be great, I think. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's really all I have to say. I will be back to review the next season of Lower Decks when it comes out. In its place this coming week is going to be Prodigy, which also looks good. I'm going to check that out, and I will have a review of the season premiere after it's released. Until then, my friends, as always, I wish you all peace and long life.